Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone in the room, everyone online as well. Pleased to see so many faces, some familiar faces in the room as well. My name's Dave Stubberfield from Carter Consultancy, and today I'm going to be talking to you about leveraging the power of a cup of tea for your business growth. So a bit of an analogy we're going to play on today. We'll come on to more about that in a minute, but I think everyone can agree that most businesses, regardless of vision, values, what they want to achieve, a good business wants to have good profit growth, delighted customers, and happy people. That's kind of the virtuous circle that we want to see. Often it leads to poor customer experience, poor legacy systems, inefficiencies built on inefficiencies, bad habits, behaviours. These are the things that kind of happen over time. They don't happen overnight, and it just becomes something that seems to become very, very difficult to untangle. So a bit of a background of what we do. We help businesses with those challenges. So over the last 3 years, we've helped businesses save over £7 million from reducing costs and making them more efficient. At the same time, we've increased customer retention by 29%, increased customer satisfaction by 32%, and 26% for employee engagement. Now, you might have seen in the news, there's a lot of reductions for a lot of big companies. I think BP was one of the ones I saw last. Thousands of jobs going, arguably to AI potentially, because there's lots of advancement in that area, rapid advancement. But sometimes a lot of people are quick to react on the back of that and go, okay, we need to chop some heads as well. But if you look at how good your processes are working, then you might have an ability to not reduce as many heads as you thought you might need to originally. So what the hell has this got to do with a cup of tea? I'll tell you. But before we get into that, cup of tea on the screen. Anyone from the audience in the room, can you see your cup of tea? Yeah, anyone would like to shout out what cup of tea is theirs?
A4.
A4?
A2.
A2?
1D.
1D, okay. Brilliant. A lot of variation. Anyone not see their cup of tea on there? Yeah, okay. Does this help? Okay. Okay, there we go. So, we're going to come on to that in a minute as well. So the answer to this is there is a lot of options for us as consumers in the market. Hands up, has anyone changed utility provider recently in the last couple of years? Yeah, a few hands. Anyone want to shout out how easy that was or is? What did you have to do? Use switch. And they do it all for you, right?
Well, yeah.
Pretty much. All you have to do is send in your utility bill, and generally someone takes care of the rest. So as a consumer, we've got more choice than ever before to make changes. So if we're annoyed by price hikes or customer experience or something, we can turn around and say, do you know what, I'm not happy with that. I'm voting with my feet. I'm going to move somewhere else, and it's quicker than ever. Again, social media, if you're unhappy with a business or an organisation, you could go on to X, as it's now known, or some other social media platform and say, this company didn't do X, Y, Z, they didn't meet my expectations. That message can travel so fast, so quick, globally. So it could ruin a reputation in a matter of seconds. So companies are no longer in control of their brands nowadays. It lies in the hands of customers. So we're going to get onto that in a minute. But first, we're going to continue with a cup of tea. So we might have kettle, tea bag, mug, milk, sugar. Yep, that's one process. Does anyone use a teapot? Hands up. Couple of hands, yeah. Teapot's going out of fashion, which is a real shame. Anyone put the milk in first? Oh, there's a couple of... Oh, there's a milk first there, okay. So it's not the wrong answer by any stretch, but a lot of people disagree, which is interesting. Okay. So, different flavour teas. We might have a choice, we might have a range, we might have green tea, peppermint. That's just two I can name off the top of my head. There could be more. Is there a specific one that you drink? Green tea, perfect. We might get the fancy mugs out and the fancy biscuits. We might have a range of milk we want to choose as well. I noticed outside there's oat and soya as well. So again, we're catering for a lot of needs nowadays. Anyone claim not to know how to make a cup of tea? I did when I first joined my corporate role as the apprentice. They turned around and said, "Dave, can you make a cup of tea?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I really don't know how." And that was that. Never made a cup of tea at work. So they fell for that one. You could get the fancy biscuits out as well. So there's lots of different ways. Ultimately, you end up with a cup of tea. So the process could vary, but there are going to be things that differ. Oh, sacrilege and heathen. So again, when someone said about putting the milk in first, someone said, "You can't do that, sacrilege." I said to someone, "I reboiled a kettle." And they went, "You can't do that, you heathen." I was like, wow, okay, that's a bit strong for making a cup of tea. But anyway, this is how emotional we can get, and we're going to come on to emotions in a little bit. So the cup of tea. The different ways of making a cup of tea, we can have different quality, the time it takes, and delivery. So let's explore that in a little bit more detail. So we've got quality, time, delivery. Let's focus on ingredients first. So for a cup of tea, they could be your ingredients. So it could be the type of tea you use. It could be the mug you use if you're delivering that as a service to a customer. Again, different milk options. It could be one taste different. Anyone drink at Costa Coffee at all? Yeah, nods of heads. They changed their milk provider around about 18 months, 2 years ago. So any alternative milks they had, they changed the provider and changed the taste dramatically. They've now reverted that and gone back to the original provider because they had so many complaints. So that happens, real life. Cup of tea can change your business growth. Biscuits as well, sugar. There could be other things that we might want to add to our cup of tea. But ultimately, that's your brand identity. What you choose as your ingredients for your business, how you want to be seen, how you want to be perceived, that's your brand identity. If you're delivering goods to people in a van, you don't want that van to be dirty, because it's not only the customer that sees it when they pull up outside the house, it's people on the roads as well. So that brand identity can be moved away from making a cup of tea. We've then got time, so we've got brewing time. Too short, it's too weak. Too long, could be too bitter. That's by design. So some people might like weak tea, some people might like strong tea. If you're trying to produce mass amounts of tea, that's your widget that you're churning out, you want to make sure that you're getting that magic number. You're saying, right, okay, we're going to boil it to X amount of degrees, this is when we're going to deliver it, how we're going to deliver it, this is the brewing time, etc. That's our processes, our systems, how we do things. So making sure we do it consistently. I can guarantee you that we all make our cup of tea differently in this room. Such a simple process, but we will all do something very, very different. So how do we make sure that we have consistent processes in what we do and how we achieve different things? Then we've got delivery. So in this example, temperature. Some people like it warm enough that they can drink it straight away. Some people like it scalding hot and drink it straight away as well. Health and safety issue there if you ask me, but that's my opinion there. But that's employee engagement. If you've got brand identity and your processes and systems nailed, but you're missing that human element, that human touch, the brand can fall down there as well. So that customer experience piece is massive. So this is my transformation triumvirate. So what does this mean about a cup of tea? Well, I'll tell you. First of all, we've got continuous improvement as a methodology. There could be other things like Agile, there could be DevOps, DevSecOps, ITIL, you name it. There are so many methodologies out there, but for me, fundamentally, you need continuous improvement to build upon. Then we have customer experience, then we have change management. If we've got an organisation that's looking to improve something, all three of these come into play. You might be trying to continually improve, but if you don't manage change well in the organisation and you're not thinking about the customers, that change could fall foul and go wrong. So for those that don't know, continuous improvement is the method of identifying and analysing, improving existing processes, getting together as a team, bringing that knowledge together. So if we were to do a workshop about how to make a cup of tea, there'd be lots of different ways of doing it. again, we'd end up with that outcome of making a cup of tea. Customer experience is really interesting because this is the overall perception of what your customers think. We can't define what our customer experience looks like. That's defined for us, but what we can do is try to design it and try to implement ways to improve that and being proactive. And then change management is the processes planning and implementing and monitoring changes in a business. It could be organisationally, it could be changes to processes, it could be we need to introduce something new like reward and recognition potentially. How do we do that? How do we make sure that change sticks? So there's some free definitions for you very, very briefly. How do we do it? Strategy deployment. So you start at the very, very top. That customer-centric vision. Where do we want to go? What do we want to achieve? Should that be set by the senior leadership or should that be done by everyone in the organisation? For me, it's everyone. If you've got the ability to do that, fantastic. If not, we want that vision to say, this is where we're going as an organisation. From there, we want to have that performance dialogue. How are we performing? What are we doing today? How far away are we from that vision? What do we need to obtain? Is it data? Do we need to acquire something? Is it a tool, a system? Do we need to develop new processes? Then we go into the problem solving piece. That's where we add the real value. So rather than jumping straight into solution mode, we step back and we go, okay, where do we want to be? What do we want to do? And then how do we get there? Hopefully that then gives us this world-class organisation where we've got everything working for us. We've got a truly top-down, bottom-up, end-to-end organisation that is doing the right thing for the right reason. Specifically customer experience. So this is the model I use for customer experience. So we're going to start with brand identity. We've mentioned it a little bit there. It's what the organisation stands for, its values, how it's delivering its promise to its customers daily. Not just once, but daily, so that that customer becomes loyal and becomes an advocate. Employee engagement, we've mentioned a little bit as well. For me, the key word there is empowerment. How do we give power to the people to improve processes, work from the ground up, and really start to deliver some tangible benefits? And that employee engagement is so critical. Customer experience, these are the tools and techniques that we need to deliver that experience. So it could be personas, it could be customer journey mapping. What is the experience the customer sees with us? We might see the back-end processes, but we might sell the product and disappear off the face of the earth for 4 weeks, and then someone out of the blue reaches out and we don't know them. They don't explain who they are. We want that hand holding. We as consumers want that experience. We've mentioned systems and processes, so streamlining them, making sure that they're fit for purpose. A lot of people will create their processes after implementing a system. It should be the other way around. The process comes first and then the system comes after. If there's something on the market that works for you, fantastic. But don't be afraid to go and create something from the ground up where you can go, brilliant. That software for us that we've created is perfect for us. We're not trying to get a square peg into a round hole. And then measurement and insight, critical. I think a lot of us would agree that we get feedback forms come to us after making a purchase on Amazon or some other retailer. How was your experience? Can you rate us from 0 to 10? That net promoter score piece there is great, but what you need is the insight to come along with it. I've worked with companies that get 9s and 10s to say, yes, we really recommend you, but there's a bit of feedback in there that goes, do you know what, it'd be even better if you could do this. So just because someone might be scoring you a 9 or a 10 doesn't mean everything's rosy. So some case studies, real world practice. So Openreach, they do an employee engagement survey, and always the score that comes out the lowest is it's difficult and challenging to get things done around here. So change is difficult and making it stick. But we were getting that score, I say we, working collectively with them, we were getting that score and there was not much insight to drive some improvement. So what we did is we did some workshops and we got to the root cause of some of the problems, and that feedback allowed us to improve things and make things better. Enghouse Interactive, they're a global company but predominantly based out of Canada. Massive thing for them was customer experience. They didn't do it, proactively at least. So they were getting renewals come up, and customers were saying, yep, thanks, but no thanks, we're going somewhere else. They weren't engaging with the customer beforehand. In training the team up, a team of 40, so that we're talking about a small part of this organisation of around about 4,000 people, they were able to upsell, in the end, $1 million over the course of a year, just by taking on that training and becoming more proactive. So their retentions and renewals went up, but they had a lot of upsell opportunity as well. And then Curry's, continuous improvement. I mentioned the van that was dirty on the road. This is a real life example. So some work we did with Curry's. Health and safety there decided that jet washes were kind of too much of a risk. We should take them away. We might contract that out. So for a while the teams were battling with health and safety. So they went back, eventually in the end, continuous improvement, different ways of working. If we have the ability to clean our vans, it means that we can clean our vans. If there's a storm, bad weather, and we are clean, our brand identity remains intact. So that kind of stuff does happen. And I'm sure as consumers, we've got stories, horror stories probably some of us have experienced, where you'd go, I'd never trust that company again. And something like a dirty van could be the start of something that you recognise and go, oh, I don't know. So if you can keep stuff clean, that helps with that brand identity. So this is the transformation triumvirate again, but this time we're calling it a triangle of truth. So we've spoken about how three are intrinsically linked, but there's a key word that links them all together, and we've spoken about it, it's emotion. We are emotional beings in our natural state. We have our emotional black box. I would hope to think that a lot of us are happy with how today's going. We're very energized. We've had a good lunch with lots of good networking. So positive moods. Did our moods start that way? Did we get out of bed on the wrong side? Did we have a bad night's sleep? Was the journey to the train station terrible? All of these things that can compound the way we see things add to our emotional black box. Did someone cut you up on the way? And is that sitting in the back of your mind? Has that changed your mood for the day? Some of us will be a 10 out of 10 right now. Some of us will be on the ground thinking, oh, I need to bring myself up to do some networking. I know I need to. I need to do that afterwards. So I'm not a 1, but I could be higher. Some of us like the carrot. Some of us like the stick. Depends. We are very, very differently wired. Again, which is why we make a cup of tea in different ways. That's how we do it. It's not trained to us. We don't get taught that's the way you do it. It becomes just second nature to us. So here's a question. Imagine you're at the Ritz and you've ordered a cup of tea. Can you describe that experience for me? So shout out some suggestions from the room. What are we expecting when we go to the Ritz? Teapot.
My cup's too small.
Cups too small, yeah, absolutely. But
Bone china, yeah.
bone china, yeah. Yeah, okay. Big room as well. We're in the tea room. It's very grand. And quality tea, yes. Selection of tea as well, yeah. Anything else? Expensive, okay. What if you went to the Ritz and you were given your tea in a paper cup? We have this perception that that's the Ritz. But there's nothing to say they can't give it to you like that. But now I've put paper cups in your head, maybe they look like that. So it's that perception that we have of a brand that sticks with us. And when that brand doesn't meet its expectations, our views change on it massively. 3 out of 5 businesses are expected to scrap their CX initiatives this year. That's a massive number. But at the same time, 1 out of 10 businesses are going to have strategies that are stronger than ever. They invest in it. They put time and effort into it. By designing that experience, they're going to have untold benefits and results. The success rate for continuous improvement is less than 60% because leadership generally fails. It starts from the ground up, but there's no sponsors at the top. So it might start and go for a few months, but it dies out. But 62% of companies are pursuing that move from good to great. So it's happening. We're just not following the methodology. And change management, I'm sure we've probably seen some similar stats to this. Only 34% of change initiatives succeed. They start and they fizzle out and they die. But 96% of companies are undergoing some form of transformation right now. That could be digital, it could be investing in AI, it could be all sorts. So we're all going through change, but we need to make sure that we're going through change the right way. Some steps to effective improvement. Now, these steps aren't set in stone. You shouldn't do one after the other, and these aren't the only steps. But first, think of the low-hanging fruit. What can you do that's very, very quick and easy that's going to have an impact and a benefit? That could be culturally. So if a leader turns around and says, right, we're going to make this change, and it makes people step back and go, okay, I believe that when I see it, the change happens, people buy into it. We need to communicate and train in new processes. It's all well and good doing a process mapping workshop or something, but you need to make sure that people understand the value of it and it's delivered day after day after day. If we took a workshop about how to make a cup of tea and we was like, yeah, that's brilliant, thanks Dave, great, but then we go back to the old way of working, what a waste of time. We need to encourage staff to make sure that they're taking in the initiative in customer interactions. Doesn't matter where you are in the business, you can have an impact on the customer experience. It could be you're wearing a branded jacket or shirt and someone sees you out and about. Taking pride in that and your behaviour, again, being an advocate for the business, could be that interaction. It could be someone stops you in the street while you're wearing it. So regularly step back as well. I think a lot of us fall foul of getting into BAU. This is the way we always do things. How do we stop, take a step back and go, wow, we've grown potentially exponentially. How do we make sure that our processes are up to date? A lot of startups from COVID, they've grown massively. They're up to 40, 50, even 100 people, some of them, that their processes are still the same from when they set up on day one. They've not changed with them. And introduce customer feedback loops. That feedback loop is important. It's all well and good getting a review, a feedback form to say, this is what we think of you as a company, but you need to go back. You need to take action first and foremost, if it's possible. And then from there, you're able to turn around and say, thank you, Mr. Customer, for your feedback. This is what we've done to implement something different. 9 times out of 10, that customer will give you some more feedback and give you the ability to improve even further. So, rhetorical questions for you. Have a think about these. When was the last time you reviewed your processes? And it could be, excuse me, social media. How often do you post? Is there a process for that? How do you know you're following what's documented, or are you going ad lib? What are your measures of success? What are your KPIs? Do they describe the performance of the business? Excuse me. There we go. Do you seek feedback from your customers? How often do you do that? But also, do you get employee engagement feedback? That open reach example I gave you, does that give you the insight you need? Does that happen quarterly, 6 monthly, yearly? Does it happen at all? Have you got a vision? Have you got business values? These things need to be in place so that people can buy into that. Gen Z now, they're the ones, excuse me, they're the ones that are voting with their feet. Yes, the paycheck is lovely, but they're the ones that, if the company values don't align with theirs, they walk. They go and find someone that does. Those values are so important. And how do you measure how successful all of these are? And more. This isn't a definitive list. These are just a few. How do you measure how successful you're being? A couple of ways to do that before I start to wrap up and take some questions. Nova is a tool that we've created to help businesses track how well they're improving. It starts to look at how well they're utilising process optimization, how well they're doing voice of the customer, how well they're governing that as well. So that's a tool that we've got. You can do an initial assessment. If anyone's interested, please give me a shout. And there's also the book that I co-authored that came out last year. If you're interested in that, anyone online as well that would like that, the QR code's there. I do have a few copies here. If anyone's interested, after, please come and say hello. So there are a couple of ways that you can help yourselves, but start to ask those questions. So for me, I guess, before we wrap up, what's one thing that you can take away from today? What's one change, one thing, one improvement? Doesn't matter how big, how small. What can you take away from today? Not just this session, but the entire day, that you could do differently. Who's inspired you from one of the talks this morning? Who's going to inspire you this afternoon? What's that one action that you're going to take? I think for me, the best thing to remember on the back of this is Rome wasn't built in a day. Stuff takes time. Yes, we want to be there. We want to be at the very top of our game, in our industry, in our field, but it doesn't happen overnight. You need to take continuous improvement steps. So that stair-step model, keep it going. That's me. I'm Dave Stubberfield from Carter Consultancy. If you want to contact me, get in touch, please feel free. I'm on LinkedIn. Try to post as regularly as I can. But has anyone got any questions at all? Yes. There's a microphone coming for you, sir.
Like you, I work with other businesses to help improve systems. What's the biggest kickback you get, the resistance part from the top? Because it obviously comes down to implementation, so I'm just interested in that.
I would say a lot of it comes down to cost. A lot of it comes down to cost. I won't name the firm, but there was a firm I was potentially going to be working with last year that were churning $20 million. And I think the proposal I put to them over a course of 18 months, 2 years, was 200 grand. And they said it's too expensive. And that's recurring revenue they're losing. So getting that mindset right, I think, is one. And seeing the ambition of business leaders and owners to say, we need to make change happen. That's one. I'd say the second one is leaders actually putting their money where their mouth is, and leading by example. How can they go down to the guys on the shop floor, on the ground, and say, how are you getting on? Is there anything I can do to help? What are the blockers that I can help get rid of? When people see that happen, that's when real change happens. And that's, again, unfortunately, something that doesn't happen quite as often as I would like to personally. Any other questions at all?
Can you just get a copy of your slides?
Yes, absolutely. We can get a copy of the slides. That's no problem at all.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just on that, like, cost-related thing. I'm scared now. I'm going to sing my question. Just to go back to that question, the resistance from the top and that it's cost related. How do you have a conversation around that so that you're not wasting your time up front producing everything? Because there's money that goes into every single quote or proposal that you draw up.
Yep.
How do you ensure that you reduce the number of times that you get rejected on cost?
Great question. And I think the answer to that really lies in the case studies and the examples you can bring to life. It's those intangible benefits sometimes that you can say that come to life because it just happens. It could be culturally. You can't necessarily put a figure on that, a number on it, a cost saving. It just brings people together. So ultimately you could look at potentially employee retention after a year, 2 years, 3 years. But you need that data over a period of time. For the business leader and owner there and then, it's kind of seeing, okay, if I invest in Dave and everyone else, what am I going to get for that? And I think bringing to life those stories even is a great way of doing that. And I think you're right that the pre-work that goes into that is often unaccounted for by the people we might be proposing to. So trying to make them aware of that and the success we've had, but also outlining some of the challenges as well, right? if we don't do this, what's the cost of not doing this? What's the impact if we don't do anything? So bringing that to life as well is really key.
Any more questions in the room? No, we've got a couple online.
Cool.
So, can continuous improvement help businesses of all sizes?
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't matter if you're a one-man band. You could be an organisation of hundreds of thousands. You can start small. You could start with a select number of people in a large company. But you could take a one-man band and go, right, okay, what are the tasks, what are the things I do day to day, the processes I do? Again, I mentioned social media. It could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be actually executing what you do on a daily basis. Having those processes documented allows you to then start to go, okay, I don't specifically like the sales, marketing, lead gen stuff potentially. Who can I outsource that to? There's a process there ready to go. As long as you're happy with that's what you want to achieve, you can then drag and drop, rinse and repeat essentially. So organisations of all sizes can do continuous improvement, absolutely.
Can I just say something on that for the person that's online? That's my specialism, is 8 businesses, 8 people and less. The majority of the businesses I've worked with are one person.
Yep.
And the changes that they can make are absolutely phenomenal and change their life, not just their business. It can be massive.
Absolutely, yep. One more?
Where should I start with customer experience?
That's a really good question as well. So the slide I showed where you had the 5 different parts of the framework, so brand identity, employee engagement, customer experience, systems and processes, and measurement and insight, you could start anywhere. You could argue that brand identity is the place you want to start, but it depends what the problem is. You might have an issue with an NPS survey that goes out quarterly. To start there, measurement and insight. That can then drive improvement, which goes into your systems and processes, which goes into your employee engagement. There could be untold ways to start that. It could be an issue, a problem that needs urgently solving. It could be something that we go, do you know what, we're going to take this on. There's no real right place or wrong place to start. Any other questions at all?
Somebody give me another one.
Cool. Well, I thank you all for your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, if you want a cup of tea, there's a biscuit. PG tips, though, I'm afraid. So I've kind of gone middle of the road, really. It's not fancy tea. There's sugar in there as well. So if anyone wants that, anyone wants a copy of the book, please let me know. But I appreciate and thank you all for your time.